is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. It is 5:05 p.m. and I will call to order the tonight's special meeting of the Millwood City Council. Tonight is a Utilities Capital Improvement Fund presentation / work session from Welch Comer Engineers. Lisa, could you please do a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Stravens. Here. Councilmember Sander.
Present.
Councilmember Van Hees.
I'm here.
Councilmember Kohler.
Here.
Councilmember Beasy.
Present.
Mayor Freeman.
Present. Has Mr. Stravens asked for an excused absence?
I did not hear anything from him.
Okay, so at this point, he cannot be requested to be excused by
He
council.
might be feeding that moose, you never know.
All right. Anyway, so without further ado, we have with us Ashley Williams from Welch Comer Engineers. Please take it away.
Let me turn this one. There we go.
Okay. I was gonna say, well, I'll do this. Okay. So I think almost all of you know me. I'm Ashley Williams with Welch Comer Engineers, and so we're going to walk through the Water System Capital Improvement Plan update tonight. Please feel free to ask questions as we go. You don't have to wait till the end, so we can kind of work through things together. Next slide, please. Awesome. And I think you guys know Matt and Debbie, but we just want to say thank you to them because they definitely helped us as we pulled everything together. So I wanted to do a shout out there. And I do have Sandy Faulkner with me. She's one of our engineers and she assisted as well. So why are we here? That's one of the questions that we always like to answer. So we wanted to update the capital improvement plan for the water system, primarily to estimate kind of the remaining priority improvements that were discussed in the original system plan. And as we all know, costs have really fluctuated in the last several years. And so wanting to make sure we kind of had a current idea of probable costs for those improvements, and then help develop a funding plan for you. So how do we tackle this over time? What do we do? Do we do pay as you go, loans, that kind of thing? So that's what we wanted to do. We also took the opportunity to update the operation and maintenance manual with Paul retiring and just wanting to make sure that we had everything up to date, documented, and all of that. So that's part of the update as well. Okay, next slide.
Doesn't want to. There we go.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the main pieces that we wanted to look at was the cast iron pipe replacement. So there's about just shy of 5,000 linear feet of that left in the city. You can kind of see it's sporadic throughout the city. There's some larger sections and then some shorter ones as well. Had a couple major breaks within the last several years, so I think that's kind of highlighting that maybe that needs to be more of a priority than kind of what we were originally thinking. It is probably, based on the estimated age of that cast iron, it is probably starting to near in on its end life, and so I think that's part of why you're seeing some of the breaks, and so it would be a good time to start thinking about replacing it in a more concerted effort, I guess. So estimated costs, and I did note a error in that we have a higher cost per linear foot for one bid package versus the other, so let me correct that. But essentially, if we can do it as one bid package for a contractor, it's a little bit more attractive to them to have kind of more work to do over a longer period of time, even though it's kind of sporadic throughout the city. So our estimate for that is just under $2.8 million. That cost per linear foot price seems very high. It is kind of in line with what we've been seeing for some of the waterline projects for the city as well as in other areas. It is just insane, some of those pricing. So, but if we wanted to try and tackle it over time, maybe smaller projects over the next 10 years, which is kind of what we're thinking is a good target for trying to tackle this and get it kind of accomplished, is within the next 10 years. We could do, maybe 800 linear feet at a time. Those would be a little bit higher cost because you're just doing a small project at a time, but that is possible. So we wanted run through the projects and then we'll do kind of the plan and what that looks like. So I'll move on to the next one unless we have questions on this before I move on. Okay.
Here we go.
Perfect. Okay. So the tank, and I know we talked about this when we did the last rate study in 2020, as you know, definitely one of your bigger facilities in the water system, and wanting to make sure that we keep up with that. So the main question is, well, how much of a lifespan does that tank really have? And so we talked with quite a few tank manufacturers, and they have some good documentation that if we keep up with the coatings on the inside and the outside, that you can see a 100-year lifespan on those tanks, which is pretty amazing. So then we started to say, okay, then what does that look like to really be aggressive in making sure that we're staying current with the coatings? So on the interior, that was last completed in 1992 based on coating lifespan, which of course they have to certify it for one lifespan, but it may be longer than that. That looks like it may have been due in 2017, but the last time we were able to do kind of an inspection, not an official one, but it looked like it was in good condition. So I think the next step, and you'll see this, is to do an official inspection of the interior and make sure everything looks good. That would involve, we can use a drone. They have drones that go underwater and can take video of everything. And then we would coordinate with a structural engineer to look at all of the roof components and make sure everything looks good from that aspect. So that would be certainly the next near-term thing that we would want to do, so that if we need to do that coating sooner, much sooner than we thought, then let's get that rolling. In order to do the interior coating, we'll have to have the tank offline, which is kind of a big undertaking. Looking at that, talking with Matt, I think what we would want to do is install a variable frequency drive on the old park well. So there's already, there's a soft start one on your new park, which is your main producer in the summer. But that would allow Old Park Well to pump to the system rather than having to go through the tank. And so that would help give you a little bit more flexibility in your system operation while that tank is offline. We want to do it during your fall season so that you're not trying to meet peak demands and it's not peak fire season and all of that. So that would be the recommendation. So there is, you know, a little bit of improvement to the system that would need to be done before that interior coating would occur. The exterior was last completed in 2016, so it's not due until 2031. Again, we can do an inspection and see it might be a little bit longer that we could make it, but that's kind of the assumption that we're working on right now.
How old is the tank?
So the tank was, I believe, 1969, because we are projecting out to 2069. Yes, yes, thank you. So yeah, it's getting old, but the coatings are good. So yeah, I know. For a tank. For a tank.
Not over
Sorry.
33.
Yes. So yeah. Okay, so estimated cost, we have the interior tank inspection at about $10,000. We're still refining that just a little bit, getting some numbers back. The interior tank coating, that does involve kind of the pressure washing as well as disinfection when we're done, and that coating does have to meet potable water standards, of course. So it's a little bit more expensive than your exterior coating. You'll see that difference there. Then we have the exterior coating and then the variable frequency drive on the Old Park Well. And then eventually, tank replacement. Now the $3.5 million is in today's dollars. So obviously 2069, that's going to be a very different number. But we did want to have that kind of on the radar to help us plan if you really wanted to, you know, save up over time to be able to replace it when it became due. So.
When we last did the interior coating, does anybody know that we did all the lead sampling, lead, copper, arsenic sampling for the metals, anything like that, so we don't have any surprises while we're in there doing the interior coating?
I don't know. We can dig in.
So I I would say that one of the things, if we are doing any sampling, if there's any way we could do any type of intrusive chip sample
Yep.
while we're doing the interior to at least get some idea of what our coating composition is, that would probably be a good thing.
Yes. Yep. At that era, we do find that it's pretty common that you have that lead paint on the outside. So yes, we would want to double check that it's not on
Lead
the
just
inside.
makes it a little sweeter.
It would account for a lot of behavior in this town.
We see any, like, as we take lead and copper samples
Mhm.
at the sources, would we see any of that in the water? I mean, we haven't seen any in the samples. I
Right.
just wonder if it would leach out or.
Right. It might be that we're kind of beyond that time period, but if we go to replace it, what I've seen is either, well, you can completely remove it, or we coat over it, and then that way we're good. So that would certainly be something we want to.
That would be something you wanna know before you go to bid.
Exactly. Yes. So the chip.
Because complete encapsulation is I mean, it's not super expensive, but they definitely are not gonna wanna get into a project where they have to do a full encapsulation spray on that, because there is I think there's an under layer that they have to spray on for encapsulation. It's been a while since I've talked to anybody about stuff like that. I thought maybe you know.
We can look into it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do think we should make sure that we include that on our interior coating section.
It's a couple samples, just we could put it to bed.
Yeah. Then we would know. Yes. Okay.
I would think the inspection of the interior of the tank, the sooner the better.
Yes. Yes. And in
I think
fact,
we were gonna do that a couple years ago. Was
When we
that
had the
just
E. coli in 2022, we had a guy looking at it and he thought it looked good, but it wasn't an official
Was it
inspection.
diver or just?
Just a guy, because we had a trainer. He was looking.
Sorry. Hey, you, come here.
Does it look good? All right. Look good.
Ah, it looks great.
Jim from down the way said it's fun.
So it did look good at that point, but like I say, we don't have an official,
Yeah.
somebody that signed off on that.
We can exclude PFAS at that age, can't we?
I would think so. But yeah. Probably good to just run a full gamut and just make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good, yep, good comment. Okay. So I will caveat maybe the previous slide, all of that is assuming no lead abatement, that kind of thing. Okay. All right, so pump replacement, sorry, thank you. So we do want to plan for that. Obviously, the well pumps are a pretty hefty replacement when you do have to do them. We did recently do New Park, so I do have costs on that, but it wouldn't be due for a little while. Old Park pump replacement, we have that as well. Butler, as far as we can tell, has not been replaced, so that one's kind of on the nearer term. It could be fine, but you just never know. So, and then
How old Butler is?
I think it was installed in the 60s.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything. Old Park we did in 2016 and New Park was 2022.
When was Butler drilled?
At the same
I'm
time.
not sure I can find anything on it.
Because the other thing in Butler is when Matt was looking at the transducers, we went out and took my tape and dipped it. And if you just go on the well log with the screen and the current water level, because Butler was not pumping, our water level is now sitting well into the screen. I think we're, 10 feet? So when we pull that well, when we pull that shaft, we should plan on video survey to see if we have any corrosion or incrustation in that oxygenated area in the screen, any fouling. And it may be time to sleeve it. It may be time to put something in there. But it's a good time to look at it and see what the well casing looks like in there, just what's going on. But there is that potential, because I don't think there's not a port big enough that I can get my camera down there to see what's going on. I think there are some guys that have little tiny cameras if we do want to run a camera survey. But at some point it should be planned that somebody got to take a look and see what's in there. And we need to get the transducers in there so we can monitor the water level and make sure that I wasn't wrong when I dipped it, but we dipped it a couple times just to see, and it was like, ooh, that's, the well log reports something, and it looks like it's operating, it would be operating consistently below the top of the screen.
Do you remember that offhand?
I have it written down downstairs.
I remember looking at it. I know looking
I
at the
think
well
it's,
log, but
I think it's 10. I think it's 10, it might be 12. It's not like a 14 or a
yeah,
20.
I wouldn't expect that.
I think it's 10, is what it looked like to me.
It's 10, it still might be worthwhile, assuming it's straight. No
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
It's, I mean,
You know, hate to start all over again, but if you can.
no,
Just get in there and get another 20 feet, that would be worthwhile for a while.
yeah, you would have to be a terrible driller to have it go like that within 100 feet, so.
So how much would that increase the cost of like what she has up on the slide, do you think?
If you're trying to, yeah.
If you're gonna sleeve it, if you're gonna sleeve it and put a new screen in it, you could be looking at another $50,000-$60,000.
Okay, so I mean, that's
Yeah, it's not out of the realm. It's not like drilling a new one. It's better to
Significant.
save it now than to potentially have that screen collapse.
Yeah, right, fail.
I don't think that pump's been replaced since I've been here in 26 years, so.
Yeah, we went
I
out
don't
multiple
remember ever seeing
times trying to find like an identifier tag on it. You
No,
couldn't
I
find
don't think it has
a
been.
manufacturer date or anything on it.
So you're probably looking at new bowls, a new shaft, whatever else you need.
Well, right now it's probably feeling bad
Oh my.
compared to the west. I mean, it's way down there.
Well, and
It's not even scratching the surface of the other one.
when she's done with her presentation, there's a few things I want to report to council on some other items.
Okay. I think the last one, on Butler is adding a generator just for reliability. At that site, we don't have a generator at that well. Although you don't use it very often, and you do have generators at your other well sites. So, probably a little lower priority, but something that we can certainly plan on. So, okay. A couple other miscellaneous items. The mayor mentioned one or two of them. We do have some structure maintenance at Old Park Well and Butler Well, doing some roof sealant at those buildings. And then new windows at Old Park, that would probably just reduce your power bill a little bit. So that was something that we were looking at. In terms of your wells, adding the chlorination capability at New Park Well if you needed it. And then adding well level and temperature monitors to all the wells. Don't currently have that, and so that was something that the mayor alluded to.
Chlorination at the new park.
No, that old park in Butler, maybe.
Yeah.
And that'd be-
Huh.
Yep.
How did that happen, I wonder?
well, we did Old Park first and then Butler.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point a SCADA upgrade would be in order, just to kind of get you up to date on being able to control and monitor all of your facilities as well. And then we have a recurring cost for meter replacements and your source meter replacement, just as a placeholder for the year. So there's some costs listed there as well.
Yeah, we're kind of borrowed time, I think, with our service meters also.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna start testing the bigger ones this year.
Good, good.
Okay, so those are kind of all the improvements, and now we kind of do the puzzle game of how do we fit all of this in. We like to start with the pay-as-you-go, because that's typically where everybody likes to start. So we looked at funding the projects with a combination of rates and your utility reserve. We are bringing in about $64,000 per year on the capital rate. And then we have assumed a 3% annual inflation. Obviously, in recent years, that's been higher. Other years, it's lower. We still generally use that as a guide to help us project forward. We can adjust that if we all don't feel comfortable with it. And what we've done is prioritize addressing the cast iron replacement first in the next 10 years. And then after that's done, start saving for a future tank replacement. Obviously, that's a pretty big ticket item, so trying to do that by the time you need it, it takes takes kind of an aggressive rate to do that. So this is all based on pay as you go, ticking things off as we can with reserves and rates. So we have the cast iron main replacement. Again, we have kind of the higher current cost because we're tackling it over time rather than doing it all at once. Kind of what we've done, what I did do is a project every other year. So it kind of gives you a year to recoup between those. So we do get them done in the next 10 years, but it's essentially every other year that you're doing a cast iron project. And then we have the interior tank inspection basically next year. And then the coating, assuming that that's looking pretty good in the next 5 years. So that's out in 2030. And then Butler, assuming we take a look at that and it does need to be replaced, as well as the VFD on Old Park Well, getting ready for that interior tank coating. And then trying to just tackle that structure maintenance, some of those well improvements, and then the meter replacement every year. So you can kind of see that 5-year plan. We did use the inflation to kind of get us out those couple of years. So that's why you see kind of that cost difference between the current cost and what we have it projected out, depending on what year we're showing it for. So that's the 5-year. 10-year, we do kind of our last cast iron replacement project at the very end of that 10-year mark. Then we have the exterior coating becomes due, so we work on that. Then we have the Old Park pump replacement out in 2036. The generator we kind of put pretty far out, just again, you don't use that well very often, and you do have generators at your other sites that you do use more often, so we kind of put it out a little bit further. And then again, that meter replacement every year. And then 20 plus years. So again, that tank replacement looking at 2069, that becoming due. Basically what that looks like is after you take care of the cast iron, trying to save $430,000 a year to be able to build up enough to replace that tank. I think the projected price in 2069 is like $12 million. I mean, that's pretty high. So that's kind of where it seems really aggressive to be trying to save. But if you wanted to do everything pay as you go, not take any loans out, that's what that would kind of look like. And then those coatings become due again. So we have that in that 20-year span. And then New Park becomes due. Butler becomes due again. So we have some of those things that just pop up again. Yes.
In the 20-year plan, we still have ductile iron in the system, correct?
Yes.
So where do we start looking at replacing the ductile iron that's in the system? Within 20 years, that some of that DI is going to start to fail too.
That's a good point. Yeah, we don't have that in there at the moment. We could add that in.
I know I'm full of fun stuff.
You are.
You've got, I mean, you got to lump it all in. If you're out to 20 years, you're already looking at DIs.
I was surprised. I thought ductile iron came in earlier. Last week I talked to the iron pipe distributor down in Boise. You know, I was surprised the cast was used so long. I mean,
It was cheap.
yeah. So it was. I thought ductile came in a lot sooner. But he said, you know, a couple of cast iron guys went on forever.
How long does ductile iron last?
Well, they like to say 100 years. But,
Oh, okay.
but
60 years,
I don't think
75.
that's like, we don't know because it's not that old.
A lot of it depends on how it was placed. If you got a lot of pitting, if they dumped a lot of coarse backfill on top of it and it knocked a bunch of dings in the pipe as it was put down. If it was bedded sweetly and they laid the fines on it and all that stuff, then yeah, 100 years is that. But if you had Joe Contractor dump a load of 2-inch minus on top of it, it didn't.
Well, you know,
it gets
Orchard
paid.
Avenue's in the same boat, you know, and all that was installed probably around the same time as some of our stuff, you know. And it's a gravel pit out there, so
Yeah.
I don't imagine they did any special bedding for that stuff back then.
Ding, 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 clank, clank, clank,
Yep.
clank, clank.
You know it's filling up when you don't hear the clang, clang, clang.
Your ground is bony.
Okay, yes, that's a good note. Okay, so this is kind of the clutch your chest, but we'll get through it together. So the pay-as-you-go, again, is you're trying to tackle this all with rates, no loans, no grants, nothing else, and really trying to be aggressive with the cast iron, getting it taken out, and also trying to save up, after you're done with that, save up for your tank replacement. So what that looks like is starting out with a $40 increase next year.
And that is not an annual increase.
Right,
That is a per month increase.
yes.
Of course it is.
Yep. So what we're trying to do there's a lot of numbers there. We take kind of the CIP on the top line. We take what we're currently taking in, so that's helping, and then what we need in order to make sure our balance on our reserve doesn't dip too low. That's kind of where things sit so that we can modulate that. So the rate increase range all the way out to 2045. You know, we start at 40, 45, 45, 50, 50. It does go all the way up to 60 on top of what you're doing today. And we do dip down probably about to 63,000 in the reserve there. So that doesn't seem reasonable to me. So we started peeling it back a little bit to see, okay, what starts to become more reasonable for you. So that's kind of the next one. Go one more back up, please. That's okay. There you go. Okay, so then do we look at loans? So we started with Public Works Board. They have 20-year loans at pretty good interest rate. We haven't heard yet if they're offering them this year. It may be that it's not till next year that they're offering it. We can also look at DWSRF, which you used for Buckeye, if I remember correctly. And you're still paying on it. Yep.
2035.
Yep, that's right. So there are several options we can look at. We use the Public Works Board funding as the example, and so you'll see that kind of throughout. We did look at 3 different loan options. So we looked at just trying to do that cast iron replacement, get that done, and do everything else kind of self-funded. Do we do that and the tank coatings? The idea being that the tank coatings are extending the life of one of your largest assets, and so that seems like a good investment. Or do we all do all of it? Not all of it, but main replacement, tank coatings, and just plan that you're gonna have to take a loan out to do the tank replacement when that comes due. It is pretty far out, so seems, like something you could look at. Okay, so first option, just the cast iron main replacement. Didn't start that loan payment till 2027. That's typically, you do the project and then the loan becomes payments start. So we have that kind of delayed a little bit. Again, this one's just the cast iron replacement. We're still trying to do the tank coatings through rates, and we're trying to save up for the tank replacement at some point through our rates. So it gets a little better, but it's not amazing. So we have a $25 increase next year. So then I'll go to the next one. When we start to do the loan for the main replacement and the tank coatings, then this starts to seem a little bit more reasonable. And we do the cast iron replacement first, and then I kind of delayed that tank coating loan for a couple of years until that starts to become necessary. We could back it up if we needed to. That helps us just kind of phase in that rate increase a little bit rather than having to go right from the outset. We do still assume that we're going to save up for that tank replacement. So that bottom line where you see it says 5 to 60, we do kind of have to ramp up after this kind of first 5 to 10 year segment to start to save for that tank. So then the last one. This would be if you're doing a loan for the main replacement, tank coatings, and just plan for a loan for the tank replacement. Then we can kind of keep it at that $25 rate increase over what you're doing today. Still kind of a ramp up there to get ourselves to that position, but that seems to be a good plan. I mean, again, that tank replacement's pretty far out, so you could kind of see how the next 5 to 10 years goes, and then maybe make a decision, you know, yes, we do want to start saving for that, or no, we do want to just plan for taking a loan out for it. Okay? So, those are kind of our questions is, how do you want to fund the CIP? Do we want to make any changes? Are there any priorities that we need to update? Sounds like maybe we might want to look at the ductile iron, other things that you had. Or you want to wait?
So I do think, I guess if council has questions for Ashley, and then I'll finish off by talking about a little bit of wholesale on water, because I think one of the things here that city needs to realize, is that right now we're a captive audience, and inflation is gonna continue, prices, and we don't know what's gonna happen with tariffs at some point. I don't know that we have a steel industry in the United States that does whatever it's gonna do, but we just need to be aware that you're not gonna get discounts. So you're looking at the same group of individuals with some minor expansion in the plan having to support this system themselves in perpetuity. So, but if there are questions for Ashley, please ask away.
So I think I like your idea of looking out long, the 50-year stuff.
Yes.
You know, but I think, yeah, as we mentioned, let's get that tank inspected ASAP.
Yeah.
I mean, if we gotta wait till fall, we wait till fall.
Yeah.
But I think the interior coating, and, you know, and last time we noticed, you know, when we did the outside tank, 67,000 versus 250,000. You know, in my classes, I'm saying, I used to think of the tank as an asset. Hell no, it's the coating that's an asset too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because next time, I mean, even today, I bet that tank would be 125 or 150,000 low bid. You know, so I think we need to look at that.
Yeah.
The fact that those the other two small pumps have been running for a long time is of concern. We don't know which is going to go first, but also just the condition of Butler.
Yeah.
We really need to know what that condition is, I think, before we end up putting too much into it.
Yeah.
In fact, that might be what we put into it, is just to get that water level back, you know, get more water level. But I think it's a no-brainer to be applying for some low-interest loans. And, you know, and I forgot what our unauthorized water use is, but it's pretty high. Yeah, so, I mean, we're pumping a lot of water and we're not getting paid for it. So I think we need to go full button forward. And especially since, you know, Kyle wants to do some street work, you know, that's on our 6-year plan. So we really gotta get our water stuff ready before we start tearing up more streets.
Can we get American leak detection out to detect some of our cast iron? Because I'm still not totally convinced we have leaks in the cast iron.
Okay.
Really?
We were pumping less than 200 gallons per minute this winter, which is not a lot, I wouldn't think.
I haven't gotten a straight answer from anybody. I've asked multiple people. Cast iron is brittle. When cast iron breaks, it breaks, right?
Right.
So, and Paul said that all the cast iron we have out there now is gasketed fittings.
Okay.
So, and that's why they didn't really jump on replacing it before, is because they got rid of all the lead packed fittings and stuff that
Got it.
typically failed. So I just keep questioning in my head, do we actually have a lot of water loss from the cast iron?
So Kyle, if it's not the cast iron, what accounts for the 16 to 20% leak or loss that we cannot? Do you think it's the sensor? I mean, do you think there's a sensor?
Meters, I was gonna get the large
Yeah.
meters calibrated this summer. To
Yeah.
See,
Because then maybe we can actually recoup some of the.
it's not actual water loss, it's in the numbers somewhere.
It's the margin of error of the meter
What you
that we're
read.
charging people, correct? Is
That's
what
what
you're
I
thinking?
Have those big guys.
I mean, that would be a huge win, because that would be not the $5 million infrastructure project I just heard about, but
It
like
still needs
some.
to be done.
Of
'cause
course,
it's-
of course,
But yeah.
of course. But I'm just saying,
But we're
like,
thinking it's not really leaking from what we can see. Like say, if we're pumping under 200 gallons per minute for the entire city at a given point, you wouldn't think you'd have a large leak out there. That's not a lot of water.
Cause the last water main break we had, when it was broken and flowing down the road, we were 7, 8,
there's a flood.
900 gallons a minute at that point. Now, I mean, if cast iron can just spring a hairline crack and go and do that over a long period of time without actually blowing apart and coming out onto the road, then that's different. But if American League can maybe come out and find a couple of those, and I'm all about
You can
picking them up and
repair.
repairing them.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, like, the last report they gave, our leak, or whatever the heck it is remarkably stable. Like, even the whole, oh, we're making little increases, oh, we're made a little decrease. That's all within the variability of a volatile system. So, I mean, it's like, what I'm seeing is that we've had the same problem for
For a while.
years, like, the whole time I've been on the council. So, if you say that the iron is like either, or
Or not.
maybe it's
Meter.
isn't the meter a better problem to solve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we have leak detection back?
I thought we did.
American League coming in a long time ago,
Long time ago.
a while back.
Yeah.
When Patty was still there, I think.
And I don't remember when I was here, except for out in the park. Did they actually check water
But
meters?
that would probably, that might
I
be a
think
good
leaving
investment
Ball
on.
and chasing up down quite a while.
Which one, the big one?
So we
That
know
was over
where-
on Liberty.
Yeah.
down
what's
there.
that?
Iron map was.
That was the cast iron.
Cast iron map,
Last
maybe
year.
that's what we just
Two
said.
of them, same time of
Full
year.
focus there.
One and then another. Right after
And not
winter.
replace it all unless it.
Well, take a look at it. See what's
Because I
happening.
remember
Interesting.
it was May and it was beautiful and I got a sunburn.
That takes time too.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to test those big meters, and if you found those were off, that would.
Well, I mean, I think that obviously we do have an underlying problem that needs to be solved, but when we're talking about, oh, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan, that tells me that we have a range to optimize that. If there's a meter problem, that just made,
Like say that still needs to be replaced at some point, but it might
100.
be right now to
Right
fix
now.
the problem.
Right.
Cause I think if we replaced all that, I don't know if that's gonna change our water loss.
And if you're anticipating that you're gonna fund it with loan funds, then maybe you've got a little bit of time to do an investigation to see.
Replace the ones that,
Yeah, and so that maybe it's, okay, we can postpone that maybe for 5 years instead of, it's gotta be soon.
So I think the factors are, we know where the cast iron is. We know where we want to have some roads done in the next 6 years. Now perhaps we need to focus on doing some leak detection on those roads at least, with cast iron. And I don't know if there's any other needs, we need any upsizing or anything else at the same time we're thinking about all that. I think our system seems to be in pretty good sizing, especially with making the improvements to Trent you've made in the last number of years. So maybe focusing on that, because I'd really like to get those, but if you're gonna do anything in a road, let's get it done before.
Well, and I think most of the stuff on the STIP, which we'll go over here tonight, is chip seal projects for the most part. Some patching if it's alligator too bad, and I don't know, chip seal seems like it's pretty affordable. And it sounds like if the county if we wanted to come in and if we had to patch something, that had already been chip sealed, it didn't sound like it's a very big deal.
Yeah, but I think just the observation for Joe Citizen to see, hey, we just got the new, whatever we do to get a new surface, and then coming back next year to
Let's do the water.
pick the heck out of it.
Right, yeah.
And then I think you kind of hit the nail on the head too, is the challenges with that cast iron, it can be a catastrophic break. So it's it would be nice to head it off so you're not dealing with that, middle of the night or.
If we can afford it.
Yes.
If not, I'll go out in the middle of the night after, whatever.
Well, the good news is we don't live in a good clay pit, so we have a big break, it's gonna go down.
Well, that would be the other thing I guess I would point out is sometimes you do probably maybe have a loss, but because of the gravels and everything that we have here, you're not seeing it. And so it's recharging off, but we're not seeing it. So that's the problem we have on a lot of other systems on the gravels is they do have a lot of leaks, but trying to track them down is very challenging because it's just
know we need to increase the amount we put in our piggy bank for the next year, whatever it is. So, not tonight, but, next January, we certainly need to, get a jump in that category.
So the last thing I did want to bring up is, and we've talked, oh, go ahead, Sean, sorry.
Are there any other alternative funding sources than the loans? I
Um,
mean, when we did the sewer, we used community development
Like
block
block
grant,
mhm.
and we could apply for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the city's eligible right now. I would
I
have
think
to
that's
find
the
out.
challenge is eligibility.
Yes.
Being in Spokane County, we're kind of handicapped if we're.
Yeah, what makes us not eligible?
a
Our
different-
median income levels.
So typically those are for low to moderate income.
And we qualified a few years, however many years ago.
We scraped by a long time ago. We haven't been eligible.
Then our housing prices went up.
Yeah, that's the
Uh-huh.
issue.
You could bond it. You could either work with the county to bond it off of their bond rating, or we could look at city could look at bonding it themselves. You could go out on bonds if that would probably be, bonding would not be, I would not advise bonding based on my understanding of bonding unless the commitment was to do everything on the bond. Just take out the bond and do it all.
The problem with bonding is it's a higher interest rate. And bond covenants comes with that. And if you don't raise your rates and hit those marks you're supposed to, then you're out of compliance with your bond covenants.
Well, I mean, I'm on record as thinking we should explore a municipally owned water bottling company. And I know I was laughed at last time, but actually people who are in the industry have looked into it and have actually reached out and said, feasible, not feasible, undetermined, not a crazy idea, actually.
Well, so I guess with Mr. Hildebrand losing his case and being found to have been in whatever, you have some potential for some land out there at some point. It's a matter of finding land for somebody to build a bottling plant.
That doesn't
that
have
was
an
it.
environmental issue to it.
Exactly,
we don't want that
environmental
one.
issue is the big.
Well, yeah, but in that scheme, we have been contacted again by Irvin Water District. They wish to continue the discussion of wholesaling water. There are a couple other districts that have expressed interest in potentially receiving wholesale water. Those districts are probably a little more challenging for us because of our lack of direct conveyance to them. That issue could be overcome, but it would require some creative participation by the city and the other entity. I doubt that they would want to go, the other purveyor, I doubt they would want to go into it wholly on their own shoulders as to the level of infrastructure investment to initially deliver the water. But there are opportunities out there for that. From that standpoint, I do think that sometime during this year, there will probably be a request made to the city to present to the council or request of the council to enter into discussions, negotiations with Irvin to look at a contract for wholesaling water. They are very, very interested. I will say that I think there is a greater underlying issue for them because they are interested in potentially having an agreement in place with us before they submit their water system plan.
So are they on the same aquifer as us?
Everybody's on the same aquifer.
No, I thought that there was two different aquifers. There's one that's in Airway Heights that has got the issue, and then there's the Rathdrum, whatever
Well,
one that we're on.
So you've got this aquifer, which is the Spokane Valley Rathrum Prairie Aquifer, starts at Lake Ponderay, whips all the way through Coeur d'Alene, goes down to City of Spokane, hooks right, heads out toward Long Lake. You have what's known as Little Spokane or Hilliard Trough area, which is up over the hill there. That's technically treated as a different aquifer because that drains into the main Spokane. And then once you get out of this valley and get up on the hills, i.e. Airway Heights, you are in the Columbia River Basalt Group, which is a completely different set of hydrogeologic units and not considered to be hydrogeologically interconnected and part of the same basin. Within Spokane Valley Rathrum Prairie, you are considered to be all one basin, all contiguous. It's all within the basin, so you can transfer, move water around within here. So somebody like District 3 that has a service area here and then a service area here and a service area here through acquisition, they're all in Rathrum Prairie. They can move points of diversion around within the basin or within the aquifer because it's all the same aquifer. They have, District 3's got something up on the north side, don't they? So, but they can't.
Two systems up there, one at Division and Francis and the other's up at Chattaroy.
Right. They can't switch water rights from here up there because those are considered different systems. Even though they're District 3 and it's all lined up, that's up there. So you can move things around within this basin, but you can't move things around within those up there, or you can't move things from here to Airway Heights because that's in the basalt. But more likely, Urban will come back to us with some initial idea of a contract or something, and we can go forward from there. But we're locked in. We've got bumpers up all around us. We're not expanding the system by rolling out new connections to hither and yon. So you're going to have, if you want to add more customers to the system, you're looking at specifically, other than infill development, things like that, you're looking at virtual customers through water wholesaling. That's kind of where we're at. The last thing is, not really sure if anybody saw, I don't think it was this Monday, I think it was the last Monday, there was an article in the Spokesman Review regarding the tax increase, the tax shift, I would say. Tax shift, there was one piece of information in there of interest by Inland Empire talking about how they had received FDA approval for their paper coating process. So they now have the ability to coat food grade paper, should they desire. They do not have a coating plant. So at some point, they would have to build a coating plant there. How they would get that water to supply coating and things like that, that might be of interest to the city in the future, but there is that potential for construction of a coating plant out there at some point. And I think I spoke regarding IEP about they had proposed a Vista substation, creation of a new substation. That is not off the table. It is my understanding that part of the reason why they have not come back is currently, for any new substation, you are 2 years out on parts. So that's where you're at.
And then just really quickly at the end, the operation and maintenance manual update. We did go through kind of just the water system management, suppliers, certifications, the call for monitoring plan, all the water quality reports. So that's all kind of been updated. So it's current with the current staff and kind of everything that's up to date there. So that's all I had for you. Any
Okay.
other questions?
Anything else before we adjourn the special meeting?
Okay.
So at this time, Yes, thank you, Ashley, for coming out, appreciate it.
Yep.
So at this time, with no further business, do I have a motion for adjournment for the special meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Tonight's special meeting is adjourned.
Lisa. Can I get a printed copy of that PowerPoint?
I just need a break.
Oh, sorry.